We tightened the circuit breaker measures 2 weeks ago, and we said that these measures would be in place till 4th of May, and we would review what will happen after that. So far, our community numbers have been coming down. We've been making good progress, but we are not yet at single digits when it comes to local transmission. So it is not time to lift the tighter measures we have in place. We still need to continue with them for at least another week, but we can start making some adjustments. So on the 5th of May, we will make some minor adjustments. Specifically for traditional Chinese medicine, we will allow practitioners to do needle acupuncture for pain management. We will also allow the Chinese medical halls linked to these TCM outlets to sell retail products. Next, for strata-titled residential buildings, we have up to now maintained a very tight position where we prohibited activities within the grounds of the residential development or the private condominium. The key consideration there was in these enclosed spaces, it may be hard for enforcement and you may end up with crowds inside the condominium. And we in fact had feedback arising from such concerns early in the circuit breaker period, if some of you remembered. And that's why we prohibited all such activities within the compound. But we have done a review and we will allow essential activities to be carried out there. Essentially, the same rules outside in a public area will now apply within the residential development as well. Our enforcement officers will go in periodically to inspect and check and enforce the rules. But importantly, we also call on all the MCSTs and managing agents within these developments to do their part and also help with the enforcement. So these are the adjustments we will make from 5th of May. The rest of the measures remain unchanged, and so the rest of the very tight circuit breaker measures will have to go on for one more week. On 12th of May, we will allow selected activities and services to resume operations. And these activities will include home-based businesses, food manufacturing and selected food retail outlets, laundry services, barbers, and pet supplies. And the detailed listings will be in the statement and in the website. Again, if you look beyond the 12th of May, from 19th of May, we will start to bring back students in small groups for face-to-face lessons. We will focus initially on the graduating cohort that are taking national exams. And so priority will be given to those who require school facilities for their coursework and practical sessions, and those who need additional support during the school vacation period. The institutions of higher learning, particularly the ITEs, will also bring back small groups of students on campus for critical consultations, projects, or practicums. For the economy and work premises, we will also phase in a gradual reopening. But as we go about doing this gradual reopening of work premises, the key requirements have to be put in place. And that is much stricter guidelines and requirements for safe management within the workplaces. This must now be an integral part of any work operations. We've always talked about workplace safety and health. Now, workplace safety and health must take into consideration safe distancing and the whole range of safe management practices that are critical to prevent the spread of the virus within the work premises. And there are many things that workplaces, employers, and firms will have to do. For example, making sure that their colleagues, the staff at work are physically spaced out when they are working, that there is no mixing of staff across different teams when they are deployed at different sites, and also to ensure there's no gathering of staff, be it at the pantries or during lunch breaks. So quite a number of requirements will have to be put in place. We are working out the specific measures, and we will engage the industry associations and business chambers so that they can put in place all of these requirements, and they will be strictly enforced before we can allow our work premises to be open up and more workers to start coming back to work. One specific requirement is that we will leverage on technology and require all businesses and services that are open up from 12th of May to put in place the Safe Entry app. This is the app that we have introduced. Some are already rolling it out. Essentially, it allows us to log in when people or visitors are coming to particular locations, and that will allow us to speed up contact tracing. We've mapped out a broad outline of how we intend to adjust the measures from 5th of May and even beyond that in the coming weeks, so that everyone has a sense of what to expect through the rest of the circuit breaker period. But I should caution that the situation is fluid, it's dynamic, and the plans may well have to be further adjusted depending on how the infection and how the situation unfolds in the coming days and weeks. But the bottom line, even as we ease and adjust some of these measures, the bottom line is this. This is not the time to slacken and let our guard down. We may be easing some measures, but we must stay very disciplined and vigilant. If there is no necessity to go out, then stay at home. Still, that must remain the mindset for every Singaporean and every resident. Go out only for absolutely essential activities, and when you go out alone as much as possible. Refrain from going out in groups, even if it's people within your own household. All these are, I think, very critical habits that we should still maintain even as we ease up on the circuit breaker measures. Remember, we are not out of the woods. There are still unlinked and undetected cases circulating, and we do not want to risk a flare-up of the virus again. So we have to do this cautiously and gradually, and as we do this, we need everyone to cooperate so that we can open up the economy, resume normal activities safely without causing further clusters to form. To reinforce this point, because it is so important, we are making some steps to ease the measures, right, from 12th of May onwards in particular. I hope we strongly want to call on Singaporeans and residents in Singapore not to take this as a signal that now we can slacken, we can go out, and the battle is won. It is far from over. Now, we keep saying this, it is far from over. It is going to be a long fight, and the virus can flare up again anytime. It is not possible to be on lockdown for months on end. That's not possible. So we do have to ease up on some of these measures, particularly when I think the situation is now stabilizing in the community, numbers are coming down, and it does permit us to ease up on the restrictions. But do not regard this as a signal that everything can be permitted and we can just go back to life as normal. We have to now really maintain our discipline, stay vigilant, and keep our guards up, and do everything we can, continuing to abide by the spirit of the guidelines and not just the letter of the law, which means all stay at home, avoid going out as much as possible, minimize contacts, and when you go out, do it alone. These are all still very important requirements for us to continue through the month of May and perhaps even beyond the month of May in June, because there is still a battle out there and we still need to stay focused on winning the fight against the virus.